Hi everyone, welcome to Impact Academy. Today let us look at Indian economy. So let us look at the Indian economy from with the help of question and answers. So we look at a question and try to understand the concept behind it. And this is Group 2 mains syllabus. It is you can see structure of Indian economy, economic planning and policy, money, banking, public finance, foreign trade, agriculture sector, industrial sector, services in Indian economy, etc. And structure of Andhra Pradesh economy and public finance, and agriculture and allied sector, industrial sector, services sector of Andhra Pradesh. So you can see that 4 and 5 specifically are related to Andhra Pradesh. Okay, so we'll have to for that we'll have to look at socio-economic survey of Andhra Pradesh, budget, etc. And there is not much of Andhra. There is planning commission at the state level also, but we look into it. We look into as many questions as possible so that we can cover the questions comprehensively. So this will be 75 marks. Okay. So this is going to be 75 questions. So we will have to cover all types of questions. So one thing we have to look at the current numbers. Okay. Uh, Various numbers that are in the budget and economic survey, etc. That is one thing. And also we have to look at the concepts. Okay, so let us try to solve as many questions as possible. So look at the question, first question. In the context of the United Nations Human Development Index, consider the following statements. Okay, the HDI was developed by a Pakistani economist, Mehboob ul Haq. Okay, the inequality adjusted HDI was first included in the 2010 Human Development Report. And India's HDI value increased by nearly 50% between 1990 and 2017. Okay. So let us look at the explanation. So statement one is correct because the United Nations HDI was developed by Pakistani economist Mahbub ul Haq. He was assisted by Amartya Sen. So remember that also. And who developed it? Mehboob ul Haq. And it has been used since 1993 by the United Nations Development Program. Okay, UNDP. This is also very important. And the 2007 HDI report introduced inequality adjusted HDI, which takes into account inequalities in the three basic dimensions of human development. So income, life expectancy, and education. So this is also very important. So when you are talking about HDI, what are the different what is the dimensions or the components that I mean in order to develop that index? So you have to remember first thing is the income, life expectancy, and education. So two is also correct. And between 1990 to 2017, India's HDI value increased from zero point 0.4 to zero point 0.6. So there is a 50% increase. Okay, which see 1990 means it is at that period only 1991 the economy was what is it globalized opened the PV privatization, liberalization, privatization, globalization reforms, and all those things we have seen, right? So it is during that period that the economy of India has been open to foreign players also and private players, and we can see that there is a 50% increase in the Human Development Index value. Okay, and also you can see India's life expectancy at birth increased by nearly 11 years. Fine. Anyway, so you can see that all three are correct. So it is answer will be D. Okay. So answer will be D. That means all three are correct. So try to remember these things. HDI was developed by Mahbubullah and Amartya Sen was also involved. And inequality adjusted HDI, IHDI was included in the 2010. Fine. And the HDI value nearly increased by 50% between the last 1990 to 2017. Fine. Yes. Fine. So let us go to the second question. So consider the following statements about the global multi-dimensional poverty index. So this MPI, okay, is very important. Frequently questions are asked. So it has been developed by the Oxford Poverty and Human Development Initiative and the UNDP. Okay, health, education, and monthly income are the three main dimensions covered under MPI. So we have seen here for HDI. HDI, it is income, life expectancy, and education. Okay. And a person is multidimensionally poor if he is deprived in one-sixth of the weighted indicators. So let us look at it. Global Multidimensional Poverty Index. Okay, the index is a key international resource that measures acute multidimensional poverty. So it's an international index. Okay, and it is across 100 developing countries. And if you look at here, uh, about this MPI, okay, Global Multidimensional Poverty Index. What are the various dimensions and indicators? So one thing is health. Okay, within health you have nutrition and child mortality, which has one sixth weightage, and you have education. Okay, there are basically three dimensions, which is health, education, and living standards. So in HDI you have income, okay, income, life expectancy, and education. Okay, here you have education is common, life expectancy, you can say instead of that living standards is there, and health instead of income, health is there. So this is very important. You have to remember what are the different dimensions of MPA and HDA. And within education, you have years of schooling and school attendance, and that has one sixth weightage. When it comes to living standards, it is cooking fuel, sanitation, drinking water, electricity, housing, and assets. Okay, so MPI was first launched in 2010 by Oxford Poverty and Human Development Initiative and the United Nations Development Program. It uses different factors beyond the income-based list to determine poverty. Right. So not just income, it is using health, education, living standards, etc. And it is launched by Oxford in 2010 by Oxford and UNDP. And the index uses same three dimensions as the Human Development Index. Those are health, education, and standard of living. Okay, and are measured using 10 educators. So basically, here also we are using income, life expectancy, and education. So here, what is asking is health, education, and monthly income are the three main dimensions covered under MPI. Okay, but here health, education, and living standards. And a person is multidimensionally poor if he is deprived in one third or more of the weighted indicators out of the 10 indicators. So out of these indicators, if he is deprived in one third or more of the weighted indicators, then he is considered as multidimensional poor. Try to remember that. So the answer will be A. Only one is correct. Okay. So this 2 and 3 are wrong. It has been developed by Oxford Poverty and Human Development Initiative and the United Nations Development Program. This is correct. And the other two are wrong. And try to observe this also, health, education, and living standards, and what are the subparts within that. So let us look at the third question. So which of the following are examples of economic activities? So buying and selling something is yes, economic activity. Doing business is also economic activity. Visiting religious places for prayer, okay, giving alms to beggars at places of worship. So these two are economic activities. Let us see. Economics, okay, this is the definition, is the study of how societies use scarce resources to produce valuable commodities and distribute them among different people. So this is one of the standard definition of economics. Try to remember. It's basically studying how societies use their resources to produce commodities and distribute among themselves. So economic activities are where money is involved. All activities where money is involved, and wherever money comes into question, there comes economic motive or gain. Example: getting a job, giving a job, okay, buying and selling, doing a business, etc. Visiting religious places is clearly not economic activity, of course, because there is not when you put money as a donation, that is a charity, okay, that is donation or charity, that is different. But giving alms to beggars or putting some money in the places of worship are economic activities. So in this case, saying 1, 2, and 4 are the C. So 1, 2, and 4. 1, 2, and 4. Basically, visiting religious places for prayer is not an economic activity. And also, we have seen even giving alms to beggars at places of worship is also economic activity. Try to observe that. So usually these two everybody will be able to identify, but of course three we can say because there is no money involved. But here even giving the money to beggars is considered as economic activity. So try to keep that in mind. So let us go to the fourth question. Which of the following statements are correct with reference to inverted duty structure? So it indicates a situation when the rate of tax on inward supply is higher than the rate of tax on outward supply. Okay, there is no statutory provision for a refund of accumulated input tax credit on account of the inverted duty structure, and it makes domestically manufactured goods less competitive in the domestic and global markets. So what is saying is C, that is 1 and 3 are correct. Okay, that is 1 and 3 are correct. So try to observe this. It indicates a situation when the rate of tax on inward supply is higher than the rate of tax on outward supply. So when you are bringing inside, that rate is more than when you are sending it outside. Okay. So usually taxing involves payment of lower rates of tax on inputs and a relatively greater tax on the final output. However, inverted duty structure indicates situation when the rate of tax on inward supply is higher than the rate of tax on outward supply. For example, if you want to manufacture steel, okay, what you need are several chemicals, iron ore for the smelting process, etc. So, usually in the normal duty structure, what happens is iron ore is supposed to be cheaper. Okay, iron ore is supposed to be cheaper, and once you make the final product, that is the final steel bar, that is supposed to be more expensive because there is some value added. When you bring in the iron ore, there is no value. Once you make steel out of it, there is value. So that is the normal way. Usually, what is the tax structure works. Okay, now in the inverted duty structure, as the name says, inverted means that means reverse. In this case, what is happening? The inward supply, for example, the iron ore which is coming is having more tax than the final output. Okay, so that is what is the definition of the inverted duty structure. That is one of the features of the inverted duty structure. Now, second statement is saying that there is no statutory provision for a refund of accumulated input tax credit, okay, on account of the inverted duty structure. So this ITC is frequently in use, right? Especially after GST, input tax credit. There was a big scam also. Anyway, the GST, Central GST Act 2017 and CGST Rules 2017 make a provision for a refund of accumulated input tax credit. So whatever this input tax, because of this inverted duty structure, the tax that is getting accumulated will be refunded as per the GST rules. So key conditions for being eligible for a refund are rate of tax on input is higher than the rate of tax on output. So if the what is the raw material, for example, in the previous example, if the iron ore tax is higher than the final product, then because one of the main contention of the GST was the production states are going to lose revenue. So whatever input tax credit is accumulated, that will be refunded. And also the output supplies are not exempt or nil rate supplies. Okay, so the output supplies are not exempt from tax. They are also having tax, and refund on such supplies is not specifically restricted by the government. Okay, so these are some of the provisions under which the input tax is refunded. So here in the question, he is saying there is no statutory provision, but as we can see, there is a statutory provision in the GST Act. So this statement is wrong. So it makes domestically manufactured goods less competitive. So inverted duty structure imposes higher import duties on the raw material. So in this case, iron ore, we have many iron ores, what is in India. But if you look at say semiconductor chips, okay, this is it was frequently in use. So because we don't have some of the materials to manufacture these chips, most of the material we import from China, etc. So in the inverted duty structure, there is a higher rate on the raw material, higher tax rate on the raw material. But the final manufactured product is having lower tax rate. So obviously our imports will be costlier. Okay, our imports will be costlier, and the product we are producing is also having less price. So the domestic manufacturers are at a disadvantage, making their goods uncompetitive both within the domestic and in global markets. So, as I said, what was the answer was C. So basically, it is 1 and 3. Okay, 1 and 3 is correct. and the statutory provision is there in the form of GST. Try to remember that. Now we have a better picture of what is inverted duty structure. Let us look at the last question for today. Consider the following case with reference to different kinds of poor. So, if this is the types of poor: chronic poor, churning poor, and occasionally poor. Fine. So, there are many ways to categorize poverty. In one such way, people who are always poor and those who are usually poor, but who may sometimes have a little more money and are grouped together as a chronic poor. So, chronic means which happens frequently. So people who are always poor and those who are usually poor. So always or usually poor. Okay, frequently. They are called chronic poor. So another group are the churning poor who regularly move in and out of poverty. So as you can say, for example, if some people are involved in some kind of seasonal activity. Suppose there is a season, some festival season, and the products they make are easily sold. So in that period, maybe they will make more money, and for the temporary period, they will move out of poverty. But again, that season will go away, and under normal circumstances, they can't make so much money. So again, they are back into the poverty. So that is called as churning poor. Okay, churning poor means you are in and out. Sometimes you are poor, and again are not poor, and again you are. So occasionally poor is who are rich most of the time, but may sometimes have a patch of bad luck. Churning poor and occasionally poor together are called transient poor. And then there are those who are never poor, and they are called non-poor. Okay, so what is transient poor? Transient poor is a combination of this churning poor and occasionally poor. So that means, for example, during Corona, if you see, suddenly there is no demand for many items. So many business people who are under, for example, hotels under normal circumstances they will be doing good business, but because of some unforeseen activity, suddenly they had to many hotels had to shut down. So that you can say is occasionally poor. Okay, and again once corona is over, once they are back in business again they could be good. So that is one thing. And if you look at see, if this is a poverty line, who are below the poverty line are also called as always poor. Okay, and usually poor, who are somewhat below the poverty line, and these both are called chronic poor. And what is transient poor? Churning poor plus occasionally poor, and non-poor means never poor, basically the rich people, and who are going up and down, they are no part of this transient. So these terms and definitions are also important. Okay, because such a question can be because poverty is a very important topic globally. Fine, we'll continue on the next class with the next set of questions. Thank you.